Okay, so this is a pretty typical setup for Zoom. I'm in front of a window, which there's a lot of light coming out. The issue with light though is it's creating all this light behind me, and in front of me is basically a shadow. So the solution to that is just to flip around the other way. Face the light, and then your face is going to be lit, and whatever's in the background is going to automatically be darker. So let's do that. Let's make that fix now. Okay, now the light is on my face and I'm out of the shadows. So you have a much better picture of my face. Now the second problem that I have noticed is that people put their laptops either on their laps like mine is right now or on a desk that sits lower than them. And what happens is you get this really unfortunate angle, like you're getting an angle of my face going this way. It's not the most pleasant look for me. So you're going to get your best camera angle by bringing the computer camera up to your eye level. I'm going to move this way. This is a little more eye level now. Much better frame to my face, much more pleasing to look at than this. And I think that holds true for most of us. So think about light, think about what's behind you, and think about the camera angle. Okay, I'm back on my desktop now. This is my preferred place to Zoom and do everything. I want you to notice a couple things. Number one, it's a little dark in the room I'm in right now. There is a window directly in front of me, but it's getting sort of overcast outside. So I do have a lamp right here. That just lights up my face a little bit better, especially the darker it gets outside. Just a little extra light on your face really adds something. And then I want you to notice that I have a virtual background. And this is built into Zoom. And the great thing is you can be anywhere and you can have a consistent background. So I could be sitting on the beach right now and you would never know it. I could be sitting in front of my kids watching TV or screaming, or the dog jumping around, or the most untidy room ever. The virtual backgrounds are found in your video. There's a little symbol for the video, and right next to that is a little arrow, carrot looking thing. If you click on that, it'll say choose virtual background. And you can choose from a variety of virtual backgrounds. For instance, right now I have space. I can choose this grass. I can be in front of a bridge. I made a custom one. I'm still working on that. It has my name at the top with the email. Right now, this is my favorite. So what am I sitting in front of right now? Well, I'm sitting in front of a $10 green sheet that I tacked to the back of my wall, and I'll show you. And that's awful. And you can see that. It's just a wrinkled green sheet. That's my background, and green works really well for virtual backgrounds. You actually don't need a green screen though. My computer's just not up to date. If you don't have a green screen, just update your computer and then you should be able to do a virtual background without any need for a green screen. Being a music and sound guy, I'm pretty sensitive to how things sound. And one thing that really drives me crazy when I'm listening to people is hearing them speak directly through their computer microphone or their phone microphone. It tends to sound very echoey and thinned out and almost digital sounding. I've listened to professional interviews of celebrities right now during the pandemic, and some of the celebrities are just speaking through their computer, and I find the interview unbearable to listen to, and that may just be me. But for as cheap as $25, you can pick up a USB microphone like I have. And this is just going to give you a little bit more of a present sound, a lot more of a present sound. You're going to sound a lot more forward, richer in your voice, and a lot less echoey. And I think that's kind of an important thing for our students to keep their attention and keep them focused. If you're not willing to spend the money, and I totally understand that, a simple solution is to use your headphones. And if you're an Apple user, your headphones come in with a built-in microphone. And I would imagine Android users is a similar situation. The cool thing about this is it's close to your mouth, and so it's going to pick up most of what's happening right here, and it's going to give you a little bit more of a present sound. Let's just so you can see, I'm going to rewind what you were just watching, just a bit of it, and I want you to hear the difference between the USB microphone and the computer audio. Roll. I'm in front of a window, which there's a lot of light coming out. The issue with light, though, is it's creating all this light behind me. I'm in front of a window, which there's a lot of light coming out. The issue with light, though, is it's creating all this light behind me. Here are a few zoom tricks. Go ahead and share your screen like you were sharing your screen for a student. And we're going to select the desktop. I prefer the desktop because you can see everything, and sometimes things are missing for the students on everything else. Share your computer sound too in case you play a video. That way the kids can hear your sound the exact same way. I just have this piece of music up by Coldplay just randomly. I love to use the annotator. It's at the floating bar at the top, specifically the draw feature. It allows you to free write anywhere on the paper. So you can write little messages, you can circle things and give them feedback. A lot of cool things you can do with the built-in annotator with Zoom. You can also do other random things like draw squares and other shapes. There's a stamp feature. It's got a bunch of pre-made shapes like arrows and X's. So that's pretty neat stuff with the annotator. One thing I like to do along with the Zoom and along with the annotator is I like to have the ability to be able to zoom. You see me zooming in right now. And this zoom feature is actually not a part of the app Zoom. This is built into your Mac automatically. I love doing this because sometimes students don't know exactly what you're talking about, and you can zoom in and point their eyes at what it is. So let me show you how to do that. I hit Command Spacebar. I'm going to type in System Preferences. When I do that, so I'm going to click on that, and I am looking specifically for accessibility. There are actually a lot of cool features under accessibility. Specifically, though, we are looking for Zoom. Again, this has nothing to do with the app. Okay, once I click on Use Scroll Gesture, that allows me to use, now I have a mouse. That allows me to use the mouse to zoom. I can scroll up and down with my mouse while I'm holding the Command key. So when I scroll upwards, it zooms in, and it zooms in wherever my mouse is. And when I scroll back, it zooms out. You have all these other features that you can play around with. Some of them might be helpful. You can see I had a box checked. I really like this feature. You can play around with it. If you're just using a laptop, you can still do this. However, you're going to be using the trackpad, so the gestures are going to be a little different. So play around with this. I think the students appreciate it when there are different ways they can view material, especially when you want them to focus on one thing. A really cool feature on the MacBook is the ability to have multiple desktops at one time. By pressing F3 on your keypad, and you might even see a picture of different windows, you can bring up a second desktop or a third desktop. So you see I've got desktop 1 right now. Here's desktop 2. If I want to add another one, I can hit the plus button. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to full screen a couple things. So this is the video I'm going to be showing you later in this presentation. So I've got that full screened, and that lives in desktop 2. Now I'm going to go over to this plus sign. I'm zooming in. There's my zoom thing. And I just added a third desktop. Okay. And let me find something to open here. Okay, I'm going to use, this is my storyboard, and I'll be talking about that also later in the presentation. Okay, so I've got my storyboard up, and I've got that taking up the entirety of the screen. So that's now in desktop 3. I'm going to add another desktop. I have a fourth desktop, and I'll just have the internet open, and maybe I'm going to have something I want to show via the internet. So now I believe I have 4 desktops open. Let's add one more. Desktop 5. And on desktop 5, let's just go ahead and open Final Cut Pro, which is the program I'm going to be training you on today. It's the video making program. And that lives on desktop 1. Okay, so that's on desktop 1. Desktop 2 is just an empty desktop. That's a perfect place for your Zoom to live, maybe. My video is on desktop 3. My storyboard on 4, and the internet on 5. Now, once I have that set up, I can toggle between them just using Control and the arrow keys. Very smoothly, I can go to different places on my desktop. This is a really powerful tool when you think about it. I have this ability to smoothly present all these different things that I would normally need a bunch of different monitors, or I'd have to press pause in my Zoom screen share to find these different places. So I've preset all these full screen desktops, and you can use it almost like a slideshow. It's like a built-in PowerPoint right into your computer. Another great feature for the Mac that you might find really helpful for Zoom sessions and live video is the ability to take multiple applications and split them evenly on the screen. Let me show you what I mean. I've got Microsoft Word open. I'm just going to open one of the pre-made documents they have here. I'm going to open a newsletter, and I'm going to open one other thing. How about a flyer? Okay, I've got these two documents here, and I want to show them side by side. So I've got them side by side. I wish they could be a little more even, and I wish I could control them both equally. See how I have to go back and forth like this, and it's only live when you touch on it? The solution to that is you've got the red button, the dash, and then you've got this button with the two arrows, which is the full screen button. So if you hold that down, you can actually select something else to be split evenly with it, and the computer automatically splits it, and now both things are live. How nice is that? Doesn't have to be documents, by the way. So for instance, let me also have the internet up. This is great if you want to do a comparison between two things or have a reference for something. Let me just bring up Wikipedia. Okay, so I have Wikipedia up. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to long press this. It's going to allow me to choose something else. Anything else that you have open, it's going to give you the option. So I'm going to click on this Word document, and now I have working Wikipedia and this document evenly spaced side by side. Anytime you want to get out of that, then all you do is just hit the two arrows at the top, and then it goes away. Here's an example where you're mobile teaching. You're up, you're at the board. I'm using the periodic table of elements. You're talking, you're writing stuff. You need to be mobile. First thing I want you to notice is that I'm using my phone, and I'm using the voice memos for the iPhone. For the Android, I'm sure there's a similar program. Notice I'm using my built-in microphone headphones as well. It's going to pick up my voice well, especially if I have to turn my back. You're going to hear me just the same, or if I move around like this. All right, a really cool feature that you can do to save yourself from having to go back and forth between your computer and where you actually want to be, you can remotely pair with your phone to the computer and use your phone as a remote control. So for instance, right now you should see the mouse moving around. Okay, and I'm controlling that with my thumb right here. And let's say I'm teaching, and I want to switch cameras. So I've got my dock camera plugged in. I'm going to click on that. And there's my dock cam, and there's my little lab. Okay, I've got my chemicals and my cup of coffee, which apparently has my virtual background in it, which is pretty funny. But that way you can see my experiment here, and then without having to move up to the computer, and just with my thumb on my phone, I can switch back to me seamlessly. Really easy to do. Another great thing if you're up and teaching and perhaps someone enters your class late, instead of having to walk all the way up to your computer and do this, as you're teaching, you can just reach over, hit participants, and admit them. And it's still going to take a second, but you've got this remote feature. This would also be great for PowerPoints, anything where you're far away from the computer, but you still want to have control. This is a great feature. If you're interested in the remote, visit unifiedremote.com. Click on download. It's a free app. It'll download to your computer. You also need to download the same app for your phone, and that's how they communicate to each other. With those two features, you really have a lot you can do with that remote. Make a video.